Let's turn our attention to the BBC. And a lot of the most famous names, Huw Edwards, Clive Myrie, Sophie Rayworth, Rita Chakrabarti, they've all been sent voluntary redundancy letters. The cash-strapped corporation, trying to save costs by restructuring its news division, has written to all of its senior TV and radio presenters, asking them to consider voluntary redundancy. So what's going on? Rebecca Ryan is campaign director at Defund, the BBC, and joins us now. Good morning to you, Rebecca.
Good morning, Julia.
Thanks for joining us. I mean, I think a lot of people were quite surprised with the story emerged at the weekend that the BBC was wanting to get rid of some of its biggest names, some of whom, like Huw Edwards, have just signed brand new long-term contracts. What's going on?
Well, I think it's good to see the BBC are trying to tighten its belt. That's a positive message because, you know, licence fee payers are very frustrated with having to keep stumping up huge amounts of cash and hearing about these big increases potentially in the licence fee. But yes, it is concerning that these voluntary redundancies are potentially from the news department, which is the one area that our opposition would argue is the BBC is still valued for.
Well, it's also what they're supposed to do. I mean, that's the bit, that's the remit we're told is most. But this is the bit I don't get. I mean, it turns out they're not expecting any of these people to do it, but they've sent these voluntary redundancy letters to everybody. But we know what happens. I've worked in offices. This happens where people who can get themselves another job somewhere else, they take their voluntary redundancy, get a nice big check. This, you know, taxpayers paying for it this time round. Licence fee payers are taxpayers, and then they go off and get another job somewhere else. And the people who are absolute no hopers, we get stuck with them still on the payroll. I mean, it's a terrible way of easing down your staff. And the reality is as well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there are an awful lot of jobs at the BBC which could be got rid of. Anyone who's ever been in the BBC compared to any other newsroom will realise just how massively overstaffed they are. But this isn't the way to go about it.
Absolutely. As with all of these sort of bloated organisations, they've got a massive amount of middle management that could easily be sort of descaled, you know, and brought I'm trying a polite way of saying got rid of.
I was going to say, that's not the word in your head.
But, you know, I think that, you know, people like Huw Edwards, I mean, he's a bit Marmite, but, he is a high-quality presenter, news presenter. He did very well when the Queen passed away. And, you know, as you say, voluntary redundancy is not the way to get rid of people. You know, you should be going through and saying, right, who is not adding value? And the BBC needs to be doing a lot of that, a lot of assessing what is value, what is giving licence fee payers value for money. And I don't think this is the way to do it.
But don't we often have this, though? They'll threaten, oh, we're going to have to stop coverage of this, we're going to have to stop this channel. And then they get a load of publicity and then everyone says, oh, but we love this channel, whatever it is, it's got, you know, 4 viewers. And we're all paying an absolute fortune for. I mean, a lot of this is game playing with us, the general public, isn't it?
Absolutely, exactly. By saying, you know, by using big name news presenters, which, as you say, they're the people that were doing the part that the BBC are meant to be doing. This is just about headline grabbing because, you know, everyone's going to be like, well, hang on a minute. We recognise these guys' names. We know who they are. They do an OK job. And, you know, the BBC are saying that they're going to potentially get rid of them. It's about PR spin in order to try and get people to go, oh, the BBC, at least they're cutting back and they're doing the right thing. But it's not the case, as you say.
I could go into the BBC today and I could find them at least 25% savings without any impact whatsoever on output, as could anybody. Rebecca Ryan, campaign director at Defund the BBC, thank you very much indeed for joining us.